Welcome to the Iguana Chronicles, the podcast where we dive into the wild world of South Florida's invasive iguanas. I'm your host, Mike Ronquillo, and each week we'll explore the fascinating history of these creatures, share thrilling tales from the front lines of iguana removal, and provide essential tips for homeowners and business dealing with these scaly invaders. Get ready for an adventure in wildlife management and education right here on the Iguana Chronicles. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Iguana Chronicles podcast. I'm the owner of Humane Iguana Control, and today we're going to be discussing a little topic that it's a little unsettling for some: iguana poop. So iguana poop is the subject that we talk a lot about with clients and property managers and schools due to the health risks involved with these iguanas pooping everywhere. So iguanas will go out throughout their day just walking around and looking for food sources and water. And while they're doing that, they're also defecating. As they go traveling, they're also pooping nonstop. We've seen feces everywhere. We've seen them inside pools, on roofs, on gazebos, jacuzzis, even on boats. This becomes a major problem for homeowners and property owners and boat owners, because these feces, they could actually cause damages. Like, let's say, to your boat. If iguanas are getting on top of your boat and they're constantly defecating, so as the feces sits there, the acid in the feces will begin to damage upholstery, paint. This also happens around pools. When iguanas are lounging around pools, they also, they'll defecate on the tiles, and they'll start beginning to stain all these tiles. And we've had the issues of trying to take these stains off, and it's not an easy task, especially if the tile's very porous. The feces will begin to seep into the pores and make it super difficult for it to remove. Another common problem we see is when iguanas are on top of certain trees, and these tree limbs hang over roofs, pools as well, and boats. They'll defecate from these spots, and you can imagine when this iguana feces just comes raining down, as I like to say, it splatters everywhere. It makes a huge mess, and homeowners are so upset about this because it's a common problem. So in pools, we have clients that clean their pools once a week. And we have also clients that have iguanas around their properties, and these iguanas are constantly defecating in and around their pool. Imagine you just, had your pool clean, you had the pool guy come out, your pool sanitized, ready for the weekend. He came out on Friday, he did all the stuff he had to do, brush it, clean the filters. And an hour later, an iguana comes by and decides just to poop inside the pool. And this becomes so frustrating. We have these clients calling us all the time, hey, listen, I tried deterrents, I tried the sprays, I tried the fake owls, I try all these stuff that people tell us to use that help deter these iguanas, and nothing's working. I need these guys out of here right now. And this is more common for families, families that they like to go in the pool on the weekends with their kids and even their pets. So you can imagine waking up on a Saturday morning, getting ready to do the barbecue, and you're about to go in the pool and you find this huge, iguana poop just on the bottom of the pool, just pretty much just ruining the whole weekend for some clients. So we always recommend, when you find the iguana poop in or around your pool, to have it sanitized properly. This is super, super important to avoid any health risks. You have to remember that iguana poop has a possibility of carrying salmonella. This causes health risks to humans, to pets, anybody that comes in contact with their feces. So if you're removing, let's say, iguana poop around your pool, around the area, on the tiles, it's really important to use gloves, of course. And if you're going to use any tools, let's say a shovel, to get into a bag, make sure you sanitize that tool after, because you might forget, you go grab that tool and then you have feces on there, and again, you get sick. So it's super important to make sure you sanitize the area properly, with certain chemicals that, you like to use around your home. Just make sure to stay safe, because, some chemicals are super strong. And the same thing goes for boats. If you have iguanas pooping on your boat, it's very important to try and get that cleaned up as soon as possible, because the longer it sits there, the better chance it has to mess up the paint or the upholstery. We've seen that many times before. The iguana's on top of the boat at a certain spot, and he's defecating that certain spot constantly. The surface of this paint, it starts to deteriorate, it starts to get dull. And it's expensive, try and get that cleaned off and even, buffed out with the guys that come and clean your boats. If you have trees that are a problem on your home and the ones are hanging around these trees, we always recommend to try and have these trees trimmed back. So once you trim these tree limbs back, at least you won't have the problem of the iguanas pooping from up there and it falling on your boats or on your around your pool. This goes around also for your roofs and playgrounds. So if you have iguanas lounging around your playground, it's another important thing to always make sure that you check the playground first before the kids can go play, because kids are not going to notice that there's iguana feces on certain spots, and they're just up there running around and going down the slide. And again, the kids could become sick from coming in contact with the feces of the iguanas. In schools, this is a major problem. You know, we've seen iguanas around schools just defecating everywhere pretty much, where the kids have lunch, where they go and play basketball, volleyball, and even some schools have pools, and that's also another problem. We always try and tell the school, we'll have like a little assessment with them. Hey, let's do a little walkthrough of the property and see what's going on with the iguanas. And as we go walking around, we'll start discussing, preventive measures to help, kids and staff from becoming ill due to iguana feces as we're removing these iguanas. So while we're walking around the property, we'll say, look, let's cut these trees back. Let's try and, put some cages in these spots, where the iguanas are hanging out, to avoid them from crossing over into certain sections where the activity is really high for kids and staff members. And as we implement those preventive measures, we've had a great success of keeping the iguana poop to a minimum, which has, of course, kept all the kids and staff safer around schools. If you have a boat dealer, like if you work at a place that sells boats, this is also another problem, especially if you have trees overhanging like the borders of the property. We've seen this before, that the iguanas will go, on these tree limbs, and again, and start defecating on all these brand new boats, and it's become super costly for these boat dealers to, have a guy to come out constantly, just clean up and clean up and clean up. All this could be avoided. If you hire someone like us that does iguana control to come remove these iguanas, you won't have the problem of constantly having to call a pool guy, a boat dealer guy, or the guy that cleans up your cars and boats. If you have the iguanas removed, you won't have this problem at all whatsoever. If you have a lot of people that go to these hotels in the Keys and Miami Beach, these property managers or managers of the hotels are in constant fear of people getting sick from these iguanas. So if you're around the pool area and there's iguanas, most likely there's going to be iguana feces around these spots, because iguanas are very curious creatures. They'll walk up to lounging areas, where you're hanging on the pool to, get sun and eat. And these iguanas are also defecating in these spots. So hotel managers are on a constant, lookout, to make sure that the employees of theirs are always constantly after these situations to clean up the iguana poop. We've seen instances of, certain tables in the back of hotels where people go and have lunch or dinner or whatever it is. And they have these, beautiful palm trees, of course, because, we're living in South Florida, there's palm trees everywhere. So what these iguanas do is, these iguanas will go on top of these palm trees, mostly coconut palms, and they will lounge up there to sunbathe as well. But while they're up there, again, they're defecating, which that just comes raining down and splatters everywhere. This also happens at night. You have to remember that a lot of iguanas, they will climb trees at night to sleep. That's pretty much their hideout. That's where they go to, stay safe away from predators. So during the day, they'll be out, eating their food, doing their business. And at nighttime, once the sun starts going down, they'll begin to climb these trees and palm trees and bushes, to go to sleep. But also while they're up there, they also tend to defecate constantly. Even while they're sleeping, we've heard, while catching iguanas at night, we've walked around looking for iguanas, we've heard splatters, and it just falls right next to us. So we have experienced that these iguanas do defecate also while they're up there on these trees at night. So all these local resorts that have iguanas, we always recommend for them to start, implementing iguana control measures to avoid tourists from getting ill from these iguanas. Because like in the Keys, especially, this huge infestation of iguanas. We've helped many resorts and hotels, even associations in the Keys, that are dealing with these iguanas just pooping everywhere. So as these tourists come down from out of state, they're pretty much like amazed by these iguanas, because they don't have that up there up north in different states. So when they come here, they find these reptiles super fascinating, super cool, which they are. We actually think iguanas are super fascinating, actually super cool, and they won't really know like the health risks and the dangers involved with iguanas. Like iguanas are typically very docile creatures. Very rarely will they attack. They have to be provoked, like cornered, for them to attack you. So on that part, it's safer. But for all these tourists that are coming down and they're not aware of, the dangers of iguana poop, they have to, take this into consideration. That if, they're in the back of the hotel just relaxing with their family, They have to be careful if they do touch iguana poop to try and, sanitize their hands properly. For all the managers out there that are watching this podcast, one of the reasons why we did this podcast is to help you guys out. It's crucial to try and always sanitize every area implementing, that iguanas are pooping, because, if you have a tourist that gets sick, they'll leave you a bad review. They could even try and sue you, which you've seen before, due to, negligence. So we always recommend for all the hotel and resorts to try and, make sure you clean up all the feces and, just to avoid health risks in general. Around homes, it's the same thing. Iguanas will pretty much poop everywhere, like we mentioned, around pools, even on your roof. To us, the roof is one of the most concerning, because as they poop up there and they constantly do it, we've seen, 20, 30, 40 spots of poop just in one roof. And what happens is these iguanas, again, they'll climb trees or bushes close to your roof line. They'll get up there to sunbathe, but while they're up there, they're also defecating. And this could be avoided by, either installing a clear iguana tree wrap. It's something that we do, that we install this clear wrap around your trees, which it doesn't affect the aesthetics of the home since it's clear. We've seen a lot of other companies use like a galvanized sheeting. It's pretty much just like a metal sheet around your tree, and we don't really like how that looks. That's why we had the idea of installing clear wraps around these trees. And what this is going to do is when the iguana tries to climb up there to poop on your roof or hang out, they can't climb these spots because the material is too slippery for them to get up there. So if you're finding a lot of iguana poop on your roof, we recommend to cut everything back, install the wrap, and then we have a team that will go out there and they'll clean up all the feces on your roof. What we'll do is we'll go up there, we'll put a plastic sheet on the floor, and we'll try and blow all the feces onto this sheet. And any poop that's stuck up there, due to being there for a long time, we'll scrape that area out and blow it. And after we blow it, it will land on that plastic sheet, so you don't have any more contamination on the areas around the home. After that's done, we'll wrap up all the feces, we'll bag it, and we'll seal it, and we'll dispose of it properly. You can't just dump, iguana feces anywhere you want. You have to make sure you follow all the laws and guidelines of where's a proper disposal method for iguana poop. After, we finish doing all the assessment of the cleaning and the throwing away, we'll offer you, hey, we have another company that we work with that they'll come and they'll pressure clean your roof just to make sure that's all clean and sanitized. And what this is going to do is it's going to avoid the health risks when it rains, because you have to remember, when it rains, all the feces on the roof, it comes washing down into your gutters and then ends up around your property in the bottom. So it's a really good idea to keep an eye out on this, to keep iguanas, away from your roof and avoid the health risks involved with the iguana poop. So going back to swimming pools, that's one of the major calls that we get about, the iguanas around your property. And it's a constant thing. We'll see iguanas pooping on jacuzzis and pools like we mentioned, and it's extremely frustrating. We have clients that constantly have to call a pool guy out to, hey, please come out here. The iguana just pooped again. And it's just repetition. And these homeowners and hotel managers they're fed up. A lot of people say, no, I have 1 or 2 iguanas. It's fine. They're super cool. Remember, if you have 1 or 2 iguanas and one's a female, one's a male, and they mate, you're not going to have just 1 or 2 iguanas. You're going to have 70 iguanas next summer. Because remember, iguanas lay up to 70 eggs a year. So if you see just 1 or 2 iguanas, it's recommended to get these iguanas away. Get them, trapped, get them removed by an iguana control specialist. It's going to save you tons of headaches. Another problem that we see is that, like in hotels and resorts, is once the iguana poops in these pools, they don't have a pool guy on call, like on site. They have to call their original pool contractor or pool service technician to come out and clean the pool, to make sure he takes all the poop out of the pool, sanitizes it. But the issue is when is he going to get there? This could be half an hour, it could be an hour, it could be hours, it could be a long time to get the pool cleaned. So when you're in a hotel or a resort and you have a bunch of guests there to staying over for the week or the weekend to enjoy the resort, and the ones are pooping your pool, this is a major problem. What we've seen happen is that these tourists that are staying in these spots and have the pool closed for hours, they start getting extremely upset, and this is when you start getting bad reviews. Again, nobody wants bad reviews because you start getting less people to stay in your hotel or your resort. So by implementing the iguana control before this happens, it helps avoid the health risks, the bad reviews, the frustration for the people in the summer, with the families. In general, it's just very important to have the iguanas removed just to avoid any of these issues. If you live on the water and you have a seawall, you most likely have iguanas pooping there constantly. We've gone to properties that, again, a lot of residents just get frustrated over the fact that these iguanas are constantly defecating along their seawall. What they do is they'll walk around this area during when it's warm outside to regulate their body temperatures. So they'll be on this warm surface, which is the seawall, just to regulate their body temperature. And while they're there, again, they're just defecating. And we've seen so much feces on these seawalls. It's disgusting. And remember, a lot of times that these people have seawalls, they have kids, and kids love to fish off the seawall, off the docks, and you have feces everywhere. You start stepping on it, you take it inside your house, and you contaminate the whole floor of your property. And this has become super concerning for people that lives on the beach in Key Biscayne, throughout Coral Gables that have access to water like Coco Plum. These iguanas are just constantly, going around these spots and just constantly defecating. And what we always do in these situations that, we'll try and block off the areas where the iguanas are entering and just catch the ones already on the property. And if you want to still find a way to get up onto your property, which they do because they like to climb seawalls, we'll put traps in those sections to remove these iguanas as they're coming in from the surrounding perimeters. And again, on these seawalls and dog pilings, it's recommended to install like our tree wrap, which is the clear wrap like I mentioned, and iguanas can't climb up to your seawall or your docks. And this is just going to avoid keeping the iguanas off of your boat, off your dock, and off your seawall. So going back to the schools, a lot of principals and the people in charge of the school grounds are always dealing with this issue with iguanas. Instead of these guys doing what they're supposed to be doing, because certain employees have certain tasks, now they have to go out of their way to go get a broom and a hose and Clorox or whatever you use to make sure you clean off the area and sanitize it properly. And again, we've done many schools and it becomes super frustrating. And this goes for every property, even churches. We've seen iguanas poop in churches, and it's just not ideal for any property to have iguanas constantly defecating on these areas. So, what we always try and do, we always try and, assess the property and give advice of, how to stop iguanas from defecating in certain spots. So, everybody can stay safe. There's no health risk involved by removing these iguanas and by cleaning the feces repeatedly. So you guys, keep the areas nice and clean for the weekend. So this podcast was mostly about, the iguana poop and how to personally take care of it yourself, or you can hire a contractor to come and sanitize the property. If you guys have any questions about, iguanas and their pooping and the splatter that they make a mess all over your property, we want to make sure you guys feel free to just contact us. We're very open to talking, even just giving advice. Even if you decide to hire our company to remove the iguanas, we don't mind talking to you, having a conversation of, hey, how can I stop these iguanas from doing this? And we'll give you all the advice necessary to help you, just to keep you, your family, and your pets safe. So if you guys have any questions, any concerns about this topic, make sure to reach out to us and give us a call. You can listen to this podcast on pretty much every platform. We're growing as we continue to, provide podcasts to all these different places like Apple, Amazon. And we want to make sure you guys, ask any questions or, and leave us a review. Let us know what you think of our podcast. And yeah, that's about it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning into the episode of the Iguana Chronicles. We hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the challenges and triumphs of managing South Florida's iguana population. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast. Stay informed and stay proactive. Together we can make a difference. Until next time, keep an eye out for those iguanas.